Jeff Smith is known as a golf entrepreneur. He's been a radio host. He worked for me at one point on KFNS and was executive director of the Gateway PGA. No, I didn't pay him. And he will introduce Denny Walters. So if you've played golf courses around town, certainly you've played on one or more of his. Jeff?
Denny, come on up, have a seat. I can tell you something right off the bat. When you bring the most guests, this is where they put you on the program.
And they're all still here.
Thanks to everybody. I started thinking about you and I getting the chance to sit here and chat. And I heard a few people talk tonight about doing research. And I thought to myself, I don't have to do a lot of research because I've been in the golf business for 32 years, and in some way, shape, or form, all 32 of those have been with you. Whether it was at the Gateway PGA, a job that you tried to convince me not to take.
Fortunately, I was wrong.
And then I came to work for you at Walters Golf Management. For those of you who may or may not know, Denny grew up in St. Charles. He went to Chaminade High School. For those of you that saw him come up, he played basketball at Chaminade. Either the peach baskets were lower back then, or something was different, and he found his way into the game of golf, but not until really he took the time to serve our country in the United States Air Force as a navigator. Tell us when you got home from serving in the Air Force, what had kind of happened and how you wandered into the game of golf.
Well, it's very fortunate. My parents in the early 60s bought a rundown 9-hole golf course, and we opened up as a public course. And then I went to Spring Hill College, played golf for them for 4 years. Went into the Air Force for 5 years. When I came out, my dad had developed Bogey Hills into an 18-hole golf course. I worked under Herschel Ross at that time and became a PGA golf professional in 1977. It was something that I had always loved to do. I was fortunate to be able to do that. In the early 80s, Bogey Hills went private. Then I kind of thought, hey, I'm not ever going to be a tour player. I don't want to stand on a lesson tee for 6, 8, 10 hours a day like my son does. So I decided, gee, if my dad did it, I can do it. So I teamed up with some developers, and we began Whitmore Country Club in the mid-90s. Then I was fortunate enough to start the Missouri Bluffs Golf Club in conjunction with the Missouri Research Park with the University of Missouri. Then at that time, I had bigger aspirations, but for one person, it wasn't going to work. So I brought on Jeff Smith, who was the executive director of the Gateway PGA. I brought on Lucy Mitchell for her food and beverage experience. And I brought on Dennis Barron for his agronomic experience. So we went through a period of growth. We kind of looked at the National Golf Foundation, had targeted St. Louis as one of the top 10 most needed areas for golf. So we began, where do we need to start? So we went to the high end at the Missouri Bluffs Golf Club, where we opened up at a $100 greens fee on weekends, and everybody said we were crazy. But it did work. Then we went to the other end of the market, the more daily fee market, where we could have more players come into the game with the Golf Club of Wentzville, the Links at Dardenne, and Gateway National. Then in the 90s and 2000s, we added a number of additional golf courses to run it to 11 golf courses. Then I finally realized maybe I need to do on the greener side of life. So I sold the management company to two of my longtime employees, Jeff Smith and Lucy Mitchell. Retired into California for a while, and then decided California wasn't for me. So I came back to the St. Louis area, in some difficult economic times, not only just for golf, but for everybody. So recapitalized the golf course at Bogey Hills, brought my daughter on to Angel Walters Likens now to become our general manager, and my son is now the teaching professional there. So it's been a love of life, something that I think I'm proud of, having started a lot of golf courses in St. Louis, and now we probably unfortunately ended up with being overbuilt in this area. But golf is starting to make a comeback. We have great junior golf programs initiated now by the PGA of America and the USGA for our junior league. We're a big proponent of women's golf, ladies' golf. We want to get them involved. So I see a really bright future for golf in the St. Louis area and the nation.
You know, tournament golf has become such a big thing here in the St. Louis metropolitan area. Shortly after you sat on the board for the PGA of America, the 92 PGA Championship came here. And we just celebrated the 100th PGA Championship. The Bogey Hills Invitational, at one time, that was the largest non-PGA Tour event in the country, something that I think you've really got to be proud of. It preceded the Ben Hogan Tour, which is now the Web.com Tour, and growing that event to some $350,000 in prize money. Some great players played here. It's got to be something you're really proud of.
I am really proud of that. It kind of grew out of the St. Clair Open, which had Bob Golby was responsible for doing that. He had players like Sam Snead come in and play. And when that went away, my dad saw a void, I saw a void, and so we started the Bogey Hills Invitational. It was a great run for us, lasted almost 35 years. It was a love of mine to do that. We had great players that came and played here. The problem is we couldn't identify them. We had Payne Stewart play here. We had Bob Tway play here. We had Hal Sutton play here as his first PGA tournament. John Daly played here. Lee Jansen played here. Tom Lehman played in our event. So it was a really great love of life, and we were able to build it up to, like Jeff said, a 300,000 plus tournament with a 40,000 first place. And Bob Estes, who still plays some on the Champions Tour, was the winner, and it got him on the tour where he didn't have to go out and get other monies raised by other people. So, and I think that St. Louis has really showed itself in the last PGA Championship that it is a tournament quality area, city that we can grow on. So I hope that we can continue that, and the major clubs in the area like Belle Reve, Old Warson, can continue to step up and be able to hold great golf tournaments here.
You know, over the last couple of years, you probably went through one of the more traumatic things one can go through. The business that your family, you know, had put together, and the members of Bogey Hills Country Club, who are also really like your family, went through the burning of the clubhouse. It burnt to the ground in a matter of hours. I remember standing behind the clubhouse the following morning, and I looked at you and said, I know this is going to be hard to take right now, but as terrible as this may be the best thing that ever happened to the club. You have rebuilt, you are reborn, almost like a phoenix. Tell us about the members sticking together, your family sticking together, and what the facility's like today.
Well, it was quite a traumatic experience. My daughter lives just south of the property within walking distance, and I'm just north of the property within walking distance. And normally I keep my phone on 24 hours a day, and that particular time I actually left my phone in the kitchen. And so right about midnight, a little before midnight, somebody starts pounding on my patio door, and it was my daughter who says, Dad, you got to get to the club's burning. So I immediately got dressed, got over there, and saw the club from the front of the building, and the fire did not look that bad. And she said, you need to get to the back. So we went around the back, and the whole back of the building was up in flames. And she looked at me, I looked at her. We had this little whisper of crying in our eyes, and looked at each other and said, we're going to rebuild. And so we made a pledge that night that we were going to rebuild this club to something bigger and better. Our membership stood behind us. We had a few members that really stepped up and helped us to be able to do that. And I really believe that right now we have probably the best, or at least one of the best clubhouses in the whole metropolitan area. It's divided up into a member section, and then we have a banquet and weddings area, which is second to none. So it was like from the fire, the phoenix rose. We had a fireplace there that was built originally in 1926. That fireplace stood after the fire. However, it was not being able to be usable, so we have saved the stones from that fireplace, and we are going to have a memorial for that. The fire people did a great job. It was a traumatic time. My daughter did a great job putting it all back together again, and so we're looking forward to the future.
Well, J. Randolph Jr. coined the phrase about 20 years ago, and your family has really been the first family of golf in St. Louis. You've done a lot of things that have been mentioned and unmentioned that have helped propel the game forward, very deservingly so. You're now a member of the St. Louis Hall of Fame. Congratulations. Everybody's really proud of you.
Thank you very much.